Hey guys, welcome to this next episode of the Strong Dad Army podcast. Today, as mentioned in the intro, my guest is none other than WWE NXT superstar, former NXT champ, Tommaso Ciampa. Welcome on, dude.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate what a busy guy you are, and the time difference and all the, everything being crazy over in the States with you guys getting training or waiting to get training. So yeah, I appreciate your time. Really do, mate.
I feel like with the current situation, anyone who was busy is far less, at least in my position, far less busy right now. This is the most downtime I think I've had in recent memory for sure.
I'm assuming you're enjoying it though, or are you not? Are you obviously family time, but are you missing being as busy as you were?
I have moments for sure. Like overall, I mean, I love it. I love the family time. We have a almost 2-year-old at the house, so it's just a lot of time you'll never get back. Yeah. I definitely have those moments of stir craziness. You're just used to the crowds. You're used to the travel. You're used to, different gyms on the road and different hotels and just all of it. So there's moments I definitely have where I kind of have to take a few deep breaths or, just kind of remind myself that, there's this stuff that you can change and there's stuff that's out of your control, and sometimes you're just going to let that stuff go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I tend to do, Tommaso, is at the beginning, pretty much start from early days with you, really. So, going back to being a kid, what were you like as a kid? Were you a good kid? Were you a bit of a bad kid or a tearaway, as we might say here? Or what was life like for you?
What is that, turnaway? Is that what it is?
Tearaway. It's my accent.
Tearaway. I like it. Oh, hey, question for you, Dad. Are we on a video? And if so, do you want me to turn my phone one way or the other?
Listen, if you're happy holding it, we are on video as well, because these get posted on YouTube as well as...
okay, but this is okay the way I have it?
Perfect, man.
Okay. No, yeah, I was a mixed bag, I guess. I was pretty quiet and reserved, very shy. I had a lot of body issues as a kid, and it wasn't even because I was super overweight. I mean, I was definitely overweight. I remember my mother would always refer to us as shopping in the husky section. She didn't want to say, whatever, overweight or fat or any term that would mess with me. But for some reason, husky ended up still doing that as a little kid. I think anything that feels out of the norm, and that sat with me. I think for a while. I just had, my brother was this like tall, lean, abs, his whole childhood, and then I wasn't. So I think that was always a thing for me that got me into exercise at a fairly young age. But aside from that, I mean, I was just your normal. I played sports, wasn't very good at them, but wanted to do it, wanted to compete. I didn't get into real trouble. Like my dad always had this thing where he was just like, making mistakes is part of growing up. Just don't make the big mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty good about that. I didn't make the big mistakes. I didn't have any problems with the law or anything like that. I got into quite a bit of fights. I was, to this day, I guess I'm emotional type of person. I'm very, my feelings can get hurt easily. So as a kid, I didn't know how to cope with that. And I just turned to fighting. I fought a lot. Again, though, it was kid play fighting. It was a whole different world growing up than even it is now. And I mean, I would assume that nowadays I would avoid that, as an adult, obviously I do, but even as a kid, you see the crazy stuff that you see. And it was just a different world. It was like play fighting on a playground. You fought 1 second, the next second you're back to being, best friends and buddies. So other than that, I don't know that I got in much trouble. I did my homework. I studied. I tried to be a good student. So I was pretty much your normal kid, with a couple problems here and there, but nothing too major.
Yeah, cool. So unlike a lot of wrestlers, if you like, so you didn't necessarily go down the sports route, because I suppose it's quite common for a lot of wrestlers, if you like, to have maybe been former footballers or even college wrestlers or anything like that. So that wasn't necessarily something that you did, was it?
So amateur wrestling wasn't in my school, so there was no option to do that. I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, but it was one of those, I think, I have this 5th grade report where one of the chapters is, what are you going to do in the future? And, I'd write in it, I'd really like to go to North Carolina and play basketball like Michael Jordan, but I know no matter what I do, I'm going to be a WWF professional wrestler, so I kept that. I still have it. So like, I always wanted to do the wrestling. I knew I was gonna, but like, I think you didn't know, or at least I didn't know how to do it. Like, I didn't understand. Like at the time, independent wrestling wasn't what it is today. Mm-hmm. So I think I just looked at it as, you wait till you grow up. When you grow up, you go do that. So as a kid, I played football, American football. I played basketball, a little bit of baseball. But like I said, I'd make the starting team, or I'd be, one of the first off the bench, but I definitely was never the all-star player of the team or anything. I just, my dad was a big sports fan, so I think it was one of those like, well, he's into it and my brother plays it, so I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
But, wrestling didn't enter my life until mid to late high school as far as actually participating in it.
Yeah. So what's that, sort of like 16-ish, is it?
Yeah. So around the age 16, 17 was my junior year of high school. That's when I first went to a wrestling school, discovered there was one by where I lived.
Right.
And I kind of had the agreement with both Killer Kowalski, who ran the school, and my parents that, once I graduated high school, I would sign up, but I had to finish high school first before I would sign up. So then out of high school, I think that would be about age 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. I signed up immediately. I was going to college classes at the time, but I started my wrestling training immediately, and I just never stopped after that.
So out of interest, how old were you when you had your first match?
Probably 18, I'd say. Right. It was 2005. So no. Okay, yeah. So I was 19, going on 20, and so when I first started wrestling, I've had quite a few injuries plague me. But when I played high school football, I always had just what I would call cranky knees. I didn't know what they were, but I knew they hurt. And when I started wrestling, because the ring has a bit of a cushion to it, it just was very annoying and painful to me. So I finally got them looked at. So I think I trained for like 1 month, and then I went for two knee surgeries, one on each, just cleaning out. I had like meniscus and cartilage and stuff that had to be cleaned out. Mm-hmm. And then that delayed my training for a few months. So by the time I was 19, I had my first actual match in front of a crowd.
Right. So you're already picking up injuries then before you'd even got started, really?
Yeah, I've not had much luck with it. Specifically, it's the knees. I mean, I've had surgeries all over. Like I think I've had 5 or 6 knee surgeries now, but and then I had my shoulders done and my neck done. But the neck was the wear and tear that comes from wrestling, and mm-hmm. the shoulders kind of the same thing. It was the shoulders. I can't blame it or like point a finger at when it happened. I do think that I was not helping my case. I was doing a lot of like the overhead training for a bit, because I kind of got into a little bit of a CrossFit mode, and I was doing a lot trying to do like the overhead snatches and the different types of pull-ups and stuff. But it was stuff that, I think you just have to know your body type. My body type wasn't responding to it, and I was trying to force it because that's what, everyone was doing. And I think it was the combo of that and the wrestling that just kind of started, because essentially what I did was tore both my labrums. And I think it was just a combination of doing lifts that my body didn't want to do, and then going on the road, traveling, wrestling. And it was just, so that was like a freak thing. But now, knock on wood, I've had everything fixed. So I'm just as good as new at this point.
Nice. And I'm assuming that because I've done a few episodes of the podcast with like professional rugby players from over in the UK, and
we have one down here, Luke. I don't know if you know Luke.
Luke Menzies, yeah. I met him at
that boy is
London.
He's good. He's coming up real well, and he is so damn strong. He's like, I always call him country strong, because he's just got like a raw power to him. Yeah. But go on.
No, it's all right, man. I met him once briefly at the London Performance Centre, and he's a big strong guy, that's for sure. Yeah. Definitely tell he's a former rugby player. But what some of these rugby players were saying as well is that this sort of time off from them actually playing has obviously let them heal up with injuries naturally. Yeah. And some of them even said they think they might even get that extra year, 2, even 3 years out of the career now, because the injuries have healed up that much, because they've had no contact for, 4, 5, 6 months even.
Yeah, I believe, and I don't know how they are with their season here, but like the big thing with wrestling, I guess around the world is that there's just no off season, and
Yeah, that's right.
so that it's been huge for us. And honestly, as much as the ring does the damage, for me at least, I've always found it to be the travel
Right.
on top of it. Because you do a match, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes, you're still going through the same warm up routine and all that, and cool down. And a lot of times, what happens, especially as you get the longer matches and you get later in the card, is you finish your match and you hurry up and get onto the bus, or you hurry up and get in a rental car, and then you hurry up to a flight. And there's just a lot of anyone who gets into fitness just knows the worst thing you can do after a hard workout is just kind of sit in a cramped space. And I think that's really what does it. So, I'm looking now, this is September, and I don't think I've taken a flight since early March.
Right.
And that's the longest since my career started that I can remember going. And I think, I definitely would agree with all the rugby guys, because it's, you feel like it's elongating your career. And I actually wonder too, when things get back to a sense of normal, if that will actually change a little bit with our business going forward. I feel like there'll be less live events, and maybe the travel schedule won't be quite as hectic, because they got to be seeing that it's helping the performers, and it's going to make their careers longer,
Yeah, absolutely. So then, how long were you on the indie scene or independent scene, whatever you guys call it over there, before the WWE came knocking, or did you go to the WWE to say, here I am, try me out?
Yeah, so it happened fast for me. It was one of those just right place, right times where I ended up, because the school that I was training at had a relationship with the WWE office. They were in town. They wanted extras, which I think they still do, but back then they always would. If they were in a town, they would always bring in, anywhere from 5 to 10 extras, just in case we need extra security or this or that. And I got called in, and I landed a spot where I was a lawyer for a segment with The Undertaker.
Right.
So it immediately put me on the radar. I was 20 years old. I think I'd been doing matches for 6 months at the time.
Yeah.
And I was in the radar, and I was in the bubble for about a year before they signed me. So I signed at 21.
Right.
But it was one of those things where because it was a matter of circumstance, where it was kind of I was just in the right place. It wasn't really the right time, because I just wasn't ready, So I got signed. I went down to Kentucky, which is, about a 16-hour or so drive from where I was living. And I moved out to Kentucky, first time leaving home and all that. And I was 21, but I was every bit of 21. I wasn't a kid who was, mature for my age, or had lived and had experienced a bunch of stuff or anything. So I just wasn't ready behind the scenes. I wasn't ready out in the ring. I think I only lasted 6 or 7 months before they released me. Right. So then I went back to the independent scene. I was on the indies for, if you count the whole thing, from first match 2005, I didn't come back to WWE until 2015. So it was 10 years on the independents before I was actually ready to take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah. So that the second time around then, if you like, was that the same sort of thing? Did you reach out to those guys, or did they pick you up from the indie scene again? How did that work?
So it was a combination. It was this door for independent wrestlers had suddenly started opening. I think guys having success, like CM Punk and a Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe had kind of come into the NXT scene. But all these guys who had this independent experience were coming in, and they were kind of ready to go. They might need some polishing, but they didn't have to learn from scratch. So the turnover rate was quicker in the sense that, I could sign this guy, and it's only going to take a few months so I could put him on television and start making money with him. And I think guys succeeding helped open up the door for others, myself and Johnny Gargano, and then so many more followed after. But Kevin Owens was another one who he was successful. That helped. But for me, I think my contract had expired with a company called Ring of Honor. And I was just independent, where I was free to do whatever I wanted for a good year. And that's when all this stuff was happening with NXT, and WWE was kind of taking a look at independent guys, especially guys my stature, guys under 6 foot tall, and who aren't over 220 pounds and stuff. So it just happened. It was like kind of like a perfect storm, you know, where they were interested in my type, and I was actually ready to take advantage of that. And quite a bunch of independent guys went to a few different tryouts over the course of a year or two. And I was just part of a group that actually my group didn't get hired from the tryout. Like the tryout happened, I forget what month, but say it was June, and a group of us, myself and Johnny Gargano being part of it, got the email of, hey, sorry, we just don't have any room for you right now, but maybe there'll be opportunity in the future. So it was a little bit of a shock because it was, like I said, 10 years in, and I was hitting the point of like, oh man, like I have to start making, you know, good money if I'm going to keep doing this, have some sort of security. It was a whole thing. But when we got the no from them, it was like, damn, like I thought I did really well, and I was like surprised, but it was best case scenario because I think 2 or 3 months went by, and Mr. Regal gave Johnny and I a call. He found an opportunity for us. We came in non-contracted, which was completely unheard of at the time. We wrestled for almost 6 months without a contract.
Wow.
Getting, you know, pretty good opportunities on television. It was one of those, he just said to us, I won't quote him or anything, but his general message was, hey, I think if you get in front of the right people, they're going to see what I see. And I can't promise you anything, but if you come down and you just kind of do what you do, don't change anything, you know, let's see where this goes. And it just kept happening. You know, every TV we'd kind of get a call and we'd get brought in, and it was all handshake stuff, which is just bizarre because you just don't see that nowadays.
I can imagine.
And 6 months or so went by, and we were picking up some good steam, especially with the crowd. And finally we ended up signing contracts and moved out to Florida, and then we just kind of haven't looked back since, I guess. But I've been part of the system now since 2015.
Mm-hmm. So after what I'd imagine probably a couple of years then of actually signing, you had to take time off through injuries, didn't you? Which you mentioned earlier. So I know you've had shoulder surgeries.
Yeah, if I came in at 2015, so we had an interesting one where when we got signed, Johnny and I, when you get signed, before you have to do a background check, and then you have to do a physical. And I went down to Pittsburgh, I think with Johnny. I think we were together, but whatever it was, we went to Pittsburgh and did the physical. And I remember, you know, if you put your arm straight out and then you turn your thumb down like you're pouring a glass of milk. Mm-hmm. So I had to do that with my right arm, and then the doctor pushed, and I had no strength. Like he could just push my arm straight down. And it was a really weird moment because I thought I was fully healthy, and I was just confused by it more than anything. And then I get sent for an MRI, and they ended up finding out that I had a torn labrum at the time, mm-hmm. But it was symptom-free, or I forget what the word is for that, like asymptomatic or something. Whatever it was, it wasn't hindering me, but it was there. So we had an interesting case where us coming down to Florida, they kind of already knew that I had a little bit of a banged up shoulder, and we basically just said, hey, you know, at some point we're going to fix this thing, but right now, you know, it doesn't bother me and it doesn't hinder my performance. And then 3 years or so go by, and Johnny and I were in a ladder match, and I tore my right ACL. I had already torn my left ACL a couple of years prior. I tore my right ACL in a match, and I knew, because you tear one ACL, you just know right away. I came off a ladder, landed, felt the pop. I kind of did a couple tests to myself in the ring, and I was like, God damn. Like, I remember just looking at Johnny in the middle. This was like a main event in the middle of a big show in Chicago, a takeover. I think, you know, 12,000 or so people, and we're like 3 minutes into about a 25-minute match. And I just remember looking across at him, and I was like, hey, I think I tore my ACL. And his response, he just kind of goes, damn. He goes, do you think you can jump? And I just remember in the moment, like, time froze. And I was just like, why the hell is he asking me if I can jump? I was like, I think I can jump. And then you just carry on with the match. And don't you think the next spot we have to do is climb to the top of the ladders and jump off? And he was thinking ahead. I wasn't thinking of that. So now we're climbing up the ladders, and I look across and I'm like, oh, that's why you asked me if I could jump. Like, yeah, I'll be good. You know, and just one of those weird things you just kind of carry through, let the adrenaline and the crowd take you. But anyways, that was 2018 when I tore the ACL. I don't know if you ever torn one, but you can't. At least me, I couldn't continue going forth with it. I finished the match, but I had to get it fixed. So when I fixed that, it just opened up the door to fix the shoulder. And it was one of those like whirlwind times where it was like, hey, you're going to be out 9 months for this ACL. So let's fix the shoulder. And I brought it to their attention. I was like, hey, my other shoulder is doing the same thing that my right is. So can we look at it? So we looked at it, and of course they were like, yeah, that's got a torn labrum too. So we just fixed everything. It was like, I feel like my knee surgery was in May. Exactly 12 weeks later, I fixed one shoulder, and exactly 12 weeks later, I fixed the other shoulder. So it was in a 24-week span that I did my ACL in both shoulders. And I remember I kept going to Birmingham to get the surgeries done and to get the rehab. And they were like, we've never had this happen before. Like, it was a crazy time where, obviously the mind plays a lot of tricks on you and you start to question things and all that. But there's a guy named Kevin Wilk down in Birmingham, Alabama. He's an amazing PT. Dr. Dugas out there did all 3 surgeries, and they really. And then there's a girl, Tara, at the Performance Center. I don't know if she probably hasn't made it down to the UK yet, but she's at the Performance Center in here in Orlando, and she's just like a guru when it comes to the physical therapy, and she just helped me through the whole process and stuff. So in a weird way, it was a blessing because now, when you have an injury, you don't realize how much it hinders you. With my shoulder, while I kept saying to them, no, it's not affecting me. After the surgeries, and now that I'm 100%, I'm like, oh, I can overhead press. I can do push-ups. Like I couldn't do push-ups anymore, but you just kind of keep adapting. You keep going, well, that's just a thing. That's just, that just happens. That's with age. That's with this. Now I'm like, oh wait, I can do bench press. I did bench press for like 2 or 3 years,
Right.
So now looking back, it's like, oh yeah, total blessing. Cause now I'm able to do all the lifts. I feel great, with the little one at home. Like I can pick her up and not worry about stuff, just going out or whatever. So yeah, it was a bumpy part of my career, but that was 3 years in. And then once I came back from all those, unfortunately my neck ended up needing surgery the next year. And so that was 2019, but now I'm back to being healthy again.
Yeah. So the longest time out, was that the 3 surgeries, or was it the neck surgery that kept you out the longest period?
The longest was the 3. The ACL, it's hard to get around 9 months, especially to get back to wrestling. I think you could get back to some sports in a little shorter, but it's hard to beat that timeline. The neck was actually a short one. The surgery was in, I want to say March again. Yeah, it was March. And so March 7th was the surgery, and I was back in the ring in October. So that was more like 5 months, which is not normal either. Like they definitely told me it'll probably be close to a year with the neck.
Right.
And I don't even have an answer of why that one. I mean, other than just I did everything that they told me to do, very much, to a science. And I did, over the last few years of my life, I got very into different nutrition and supplements and stuff. So it's an article by, oh man, I can't think of his name right now. He's the guy who runs Precision Nutrition. I want to say it's something like John Berardi, but I can't remember his exact name. Yeah,
could be.
There's this article he wrote on surgeries, and it's a nutrition article. And I started to just dove in on it. And it's a lot of basic stuff, but it's talking about like supplement this much vitamin D and fish oil like this, and eat this much fat and this many calories. And I don't know if it's a combo of that. And, we have a home gym that I started building as the neck surgery was going on, that made my rehab, not to say easier, but it was just more accessible. I have no idea, but it just was one of those things where I felt good real fast. It was like, by the time I was like 10 weeks, 12 weeks out, I was like, I feel like I remember telling him, I don't want to just say I feel good, and I don't want to overstate it. I was like, but I'm pretty sure I can wrestle soon. Right. And then next thing I knew, 4 months out, I went down and got some CT scans, because they were like, we definitely, the surgeon for that one, this guy's name is Cordova. He's in Birmingham. He was tremendous. And then again, Kevin Wilk, but they were like, we don't want to just put you back out there without seeing how it's looking. And they did imaging like every 6 weeks or so, something like that. But then at that 4 month mark, they did the CT scan, and he was like, I don't know, man. He's like, this thing's fused. Like it's not, it's where it's got to be. And they were kind of as taken back as I was. So I kind of just started quietly doing some stuff in the ring. And the next thing we knew, we were on TV in USA and they brought me back and all that. But knock on wood with that one, aside from one very minor scare that I had when I came back, I mean, I don't even think about it when I'm out there. Like which to me is kind of like I think the true test of a surgery going right and a rehab going right is if the athlete doesn't think about it. Like the worst thing you could do is you come back to the ring or your sport and it's like, oh, I got to favor this knee or this arm or this neck and there's stuff there's moves or positions I don't put myself in anymore by choice.
Yeah.
Or like, stuff I avoid, but it's once the match is laid out and I'm comfortable with what we're doing, I don't, whatever I'm doing, is never once in my head am I thinking about my neck during the match. So that's a good sign.
That's good. Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy quick turnaround that as well. During these times of recovery, then whether it be the neck or the knee, the shoulders, what was it that sort of helped keep you focused, or did you struggle with keeping focus? Was it something that really played on your mind, worrying about if you ever would get back in the ring, or was there anything that just sort of kept your mind on track? I mean, I know you said you built the gym and things like that, but did you struggle, sort of maybe mentally or even physically?
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone who said that they don't would be just lying. Like we just had a fellow go down with an injury recently. And I remember the first thing I said to him is, listen, man, the next, 4, 5, 6 months, I said, the biggest obstacle you're going to have is in between your ears. It's your own mind. I was like, and you're going to have good days where you're going to feel like, oh, this is great, followed by a bad day. And like, it's weird because the good feelings you forget so fast. Yeah. And then when you have a bad feeling, it's almost as if it's never going to get better, and it's so for me, it was, that was as true for me as anybody. I had an optimistic outlook on it. Like the first one was way different because I was just in the trenches so much with rehab, with the knee and the shoulders. There's so much time spent in the actual rehab facility. I mean, I was rehabbing 3 sessions a day. I was getting there at 8, 9 a.m. and I was there just all day long, rehab, ice bath, the whole, like all of it, because that's what you have to do. Whereas for the neck, you basically just do nothing. It's like, go for a light walk. Don't pick up more than 5 pounds. So it's way 2 completely different protocols. I'd say the first one mentally was easier because I was so busy and I was constantly seeing improvement that like I could actually like grade, like, oh, my knee bends this much more today than it did a week ago, or I can pick up 5 more pounds today than I could 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So it was probably easier in that sense. It was also easier because the night that I got injured, that I tore my ACL, I had turned on my partner storyline wise. So I had become a villain, a bad guy. And I also, knowing I had that to come back to was a good motivator, because I was like, oh, that's my favorite thing to do in wrestling. Like I love playing the villain. I hadn't got to do it in WWE on that stage. And I was like, to me, it was like, oh, they haven't seen the best of me. And I'm going to rehab. I'm going to feel great. And then I'm going to come back and do what I enjoyed the most. And so it was a lot of good days with a few bad days scattered. Yeah. Whereas the neck, it was a completely different scenario. Like I'm the champ at NXT. I have to give the title away before WrestleMania weekend, before the biggest match of my career. And it was like more just not like woe is me, but for lack of a better term, like you're just like, it's just disappointment. It was a lot of disappointment. It was raw. Like then like I have the surgery and a week or 2 weeks later, the show happens. So now it's like you're watching the show that you should have been a part of. And so that was a tougher one because, you couldn't do much physical activity. For me, that's my therapy. I train every day. I don't, I might take a day off every 5, 6, 7 weeks. I just don't take days off. I take recovery days, but no days off. So I wake up, I get my workout in, and it's like about an hour long. But that's like, to me, that's my therapy. That's my So the fact after the neck surgery, I couldn't do that. It was tough mentally because I was like, damn, this is the thing that I usually, like, I get rid of my emotions. I think through stuff. It's my clarity, you know? So I'd say over the past few years between all that time, like I do some reading helps me. Like I got into meditation a little bit. I started to just try stuff to like help, you know, strengthen myself mentally or emotionally or whatever. But I don't know, like overall, I'd say now having the little one is what does it. You know, you have a 2-year-old kid and there's no time to be like sad. Like, you know, it's like you got to be on, you know how it is. Like, that's why I get my workout in early and then like you're just on all day. Like right now it's like her nap time, which she'll be waking up soon from, but it's like if she's up, you're on. So that with the neck was kind of my escape, I'd say. I couldn't do anything physical, but at least I had this child depending on me. And it was like, okay, well now I can put my full attention into this. So it's a tough one though, man. Anyone who goes through the injury, it's hard. It's a hard thing to go through when you get injured, especially when you're like on top of your game and you get injured. It's very difficult.
Absolutely, yeah. So just out of interest, then, when you said about you were waiting for the return as the villain, so when you returned, was that the takeover event when you came out with the silent entrance?
Yeah, so I had come back in January of that year. And when I returned before I was cleared to like have a match, just to kind of help build the story.
Yeah.
So I came back in January of that year, and the first match I had, and it was legitimately the first match, which it's like, you know, when people ask what your favorite match is or something, and it's always hard to answer because there's so many for different reasons. But that New Orleans one sticks out so much to me because it was 30 or so minutes. It might have been more, I'm not sure. But up until that point, I'd had 3 surgeries, 9 months off, and it was legitimately like, because I remember they had asked me, oh, we want to do a couple trial practice matches, you know, I just at the facility, not with Johnny, but just at the facility and stuff. And I was just like, no, like I was like, I need the crowd, and I need the I went through a couple. I think I took like a bump or two, but I was like, I don't know, I couldn't do it. I needed, like, I was like, if I'm gonna test this thing out, we're gonna do it on a big stage. And it just meant so much to me to come back through those injuries, and the New Orleans one with the crowd and no music and stuff. It's one that will always stand out to me because it was just like you put the work in, and then the outcome was so good, and I was like, damn, like, you're just proud of that, you know.
Yeah, awesome, definitely. So you've had, you know, all this extra time, if you like, with the family, you know, given the current situation. But if we just briefly talk about like normality for you, so when you're on the road a lot and things like that, how do you find that with balancing family life? You know, what are the biggest struggles you find with, like, you know, having obviously a wife, a young child as well, or not necessarily even being on the road, just general struggles of being a dad? You know, how do you cope with that?
Yeah, I had, you know, a couple people just gave me pretty good advice early on, like when we were expecting, and it was just, I think one of the best things that stuck with me is to just kind of like be present in whatever moment you're doing. So like if I'm at work, if I'm at TV and I got a big match, right, something, it's, you know, and I'm very lucky. My wife is very understanding too with that, but I'm able to shut that part off and focus on work. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to commit all of my energy, my effort, my brain power to this task, and I'm going to do the best I can at my job. But the second that the job is over with for me, I put it very far out of my mind, and as best as I can, but it's as far away as possible. Like when I come home, like I was on the road quite a bit. And the beginning of this year, there was a stretch where almost every weekend I was traveling 3 or 4 days. But like you get off that flight, I remember like always thinking like, okay, so we're in dad mode, we're in husband mode. Like I put the wrestling away. It's like, it's not like you come in my house and we're watching it ever. I'm pretty sure if you came in the house, aside from a gym, which might be suspicious, you probably just wouldn't know that I was a wrestler. You know, just there's nothing that would tell you. So we just turned that part off, and then it's like, okay, full attention now to my wife and my child and what needs to be taken care of here. Because it's all, you know, I always like remind myself that it's not hard to remind myself because I live it, so I see it. But like, it's much tougher to take care of a baby or a toddler than it is to go to work and like punch a clock and do your thing. Because it's just like, for me, I mean, when I'm traveling, a new hotel, a new gym, a new, we're on the bus with my buddies, or like, that's all good stuff. Like, you don't have to, like, I don't even call it work. It's work in the sense that it's paying my bills, but it's not stressful. It's not a hard thing. It's not like I'm going to this thing I don't enjoy doing. I enjoy doing it. So when I come home, it's like my wife is the one who had it tougher than I did. If I got to sleep in a hotel, it means it likely was quiet. I was uninterrupted. I was able to sleep throughout the whole night. And she's here and she's not doing that. So like, when I come home, it doesn't matter how tired I am. I always had it in my head, like, all right, like whatever she needs, let me take care of. Like sometimes it was, let me take the little one out for, a few hours so you could just catch up on a nap or something. Sometimes it was, let's all go to, an amusement park or something because it's just a day of fun or whatever it was. I try really hard to just, shut off the work brain and just commit myself here, just be present in the moment. And like, that's how it was when I was on the road. And it's very much the same now. Cause like, whether work has a stressful situation or like any job, right? Like sometimes you're not thrilled about something. Like, oh, it's the creative is bugging me. This is bugging me. But whatever it is, anything is, you can always take something home and be like, oh, stressed out about this.
Yeah. And
I try really hard to just leave that, in its like shelf somewhere and just not let it affect the day. Cause like, I don't know. I always like kind of try to look at the world through the little one. She's almost 2. And it's like, there's nothing wrong in the world in her eyes. You know what I mean? Like nothing, everything is great. Like everything is perfect. She's just happy. And I don't know. Like I always keep in my head, I'm like, I don't want her to ever sense like any negativity and whatever that may be. Like, even if I'm just stressed, I have this big match coming up and I'm stressed. I just never want that to be in her presence, so I tend to be in the habit now of, I wake up and get the workout in. We have our morning routine and stuff. Like the little one and I pretty much go swimming every day to kind of give mom a break, but we do our routine and all that. And then like when she crashes after lunch, if I have to get something done, it might be during that nap time where I'm like, okay, I got a couple hours where I can put myself to use. Or if it's after she goes to bed at night, and that's when I might start to like, even if it's something simple, like, or trivial, like, I want to get new gear made. I don't put any effort into that until she's in bed. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to block off a half hour here and try to come up with creative ideas or whatever. So we're in a pretty good position where we're able to handle it that way. I think a lot of people who are working parents don't have that luxury. They probably work, a 9 to 5 or something, and it might be tougher, but so far we're lucky. It's worked out really well. We're able to just separate home life from dress up wrestling life,
Yeah, nice. So for those that are listening, this might be going out a few weeks later, but we're just sort of like a week after you're in the 4-man iron match for the title, weren't you? So obviously that didn't go as I'm sure you would have liked it to. But what does the future hold for you? Is it another maybe title run, or is it maybe even getting onto the, I don't know, Raw, SmackDown roster? What's the future hold?
Yeah,
what would you like it to hold?
It feels as uncertain as it has in quite a while, because I'm lucky, I'm healthy and all that. That's great. But I just don't know, like right now. I think the biggest thing I've been trying to figure out is just where I fit into everything. And like you said, does that mean NXT or Raw or SmackDown or something? I really don't know. I think it's more of just a matter of like, I've always had this thought in wrestling, like when or like when the opportunity presents, you're ready. So like for me, I kind of keep myself, I'm always ready. Like for instance, that 16-minute Iron Man match, it's the first match I had in 4 months, but my mindset is always, well, I'm always ready. I'm always in shape. I'm always prepared. I'm all like, whatever you need. You want me to go 2 hours, 1 hour, 10 minutes, 4 minutes. Like I'm always ready in that sense. but then you just kind of look at the big picture and you're just like, okay, you know, it's all waves in wrestling. You know, it's, I guess, like life, right? Highs and lows. And I wouldn't say this is a low, but for the character standpoint, you're just kind of waiting for the next wave to kick in. And it's very hard to predict for me where that's going to come or where it's going to take me. I know I'm ready for it. It's just a matter of the right moment happening, right opportunity. So I just don't know. Like somebody could tell me 5 different scenarios of where I'll be in 3 months, and I would believe all 5 of them right now. I have no idea.
Yeah. So before we pretty much drawing it to a close now, and what I do ask all my guests is just to show everybody who's listening that, you know, you, regardless of who you are, what you might have achieved, what your job is, you know, everything, that we've all done something that's pretty embarrassing or pretty, you know, funny story. So is there anything you can think of, whether it's from your childhood or even during your wrestling career, that's maybe, you know, you might think, I can't believe I did that? Or
yeah, so there's 2. One isn't me, but I feel like it's good enough that I want to share it. The other one's me, so I'll give the blame to someone else, and then I'll put it on myself.
Yeah, good.
One was when we were, you know, I want to say this was very early in my training, so I'm probably like 18, 19. This is probably about 2005, 6. Our company at the time was called Chaotic, and they were trying to kind of expand and grow a bit. Whatever happened, we had this nice hotel booked for this show, and we were setting up the ring and stuff, and like a bunch of us are sitting in a field, and we're kind of just waiting around for, you know, it to get close to bell time and warm up and all that. And we hear this big crash. We're like, what the hell happened? And we look over and we notice that the ring truck has gone to there's an overpass in the hotel, and it went to go under the overpass and didn't clear it. So the ring truck literally wiped out the whole bottom of the overpass. We're like, whoa, like, this is a big opportunity for our company. You know, we're like, oh, we're going to impress them. We're going to, you know, send them home happy, put a good smile on their faces. They'll bring us back. So we finally go over, and there's a fella named Jeremy who, you know, he helped out with the ring and putting stuff up and all that. I'm like, what the hell happened, man? And he was like, oh, I don't know. It said 10-foot clearance. I thought I'd make it. I didn't know I had a 12-foot truck, whatever it is. And then the fellow next to him in the driver's seat there is like, yeah. He's like, I don't know, man. All I know is I look over at Jeremy, and he's driving. Obviously, the people who aren't watching, I'll have to explain it to them. But he's driving the truck, and he starts to come close to the overpass. And I'm like, Jeremy, you're not going to make it. And Jeremy ducks his head and smacks the overhead. And I'm like, so like the visual is like the driver who's driving a 12-foot truck under a 10-foot overpass actually thought, if I duck my head, like the entire truck is going to somehow get smaller. And so that to me will always stand out as Jeremy hitting the hotel with the truck was a great story for us.
I think I always do when I'm parking the car somewhere, if there's a barrier.
You duck, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It naturally,
just instinct.
Anytime I go into any of those like parking structures, what a weird habit. For me, one of my more embarrassing, and it's a young one, and for me it was so like, I guess if you go back to the beginning of this, where I said I was a little insecure about my body and stuff. So when I was younger, we had a pretty cool neighborhood of like 5 or 6 kids who all would always play out until it's dark and you get called in. So my brother and I got called in earlier than the rest of the neighborhood one night, and you know, we had to take our showers and get ready for bed and stuff. So we took our shower, but then we heard kids playing, so we run to the door to see, oh, we're gonna say hi to our friends one more time before we go to bed. So we run to the door, and I reach out, Mike, and it's like I have probably 5, 6, 7 different neighbors, you know, boys, girls, all of it. And my towel drops, but I don't know, you know. And I'm like, Mike, hey guys. And then my mom grabs me and pulls me in. I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, it was surely embarrassing because you get the same 6 neighbors that you're with every day. And I just unknowingly shown them all of me. So that was bad. And then in wrestling, my wife will poke fun of me because when we were first dating, I was still on the independents, and she always made a joke that she felt like every year I would poop myself at least once. And I'd always fight with her that it wasn't a real poop, but what would happen is that I hit almost clockwork, man. For 3 straight years, I'd say every year something would happen in a match where you'd have one of those like sharks, you know, like little, like anyway, like one that I remember distinctly was it was real hot in New York, and it was me and Sami Callihan, who's now in Impact, and it was real hot. I mean, it was probably 90 out, but it felt like 110 in the building, one of those. And he was sick as a dog, and I wasn't feeling so well. And we go out there and we're having our match, and we're trying to do everything, and we do a suplex on the floor, which used to be a thing I'd always do, and you know, bare floor suplex. And I don't think anything of it, you know, other than the normal grunt and crap, like, oh, my back type of thing. The match ends. I'm checking on Sami because Sami's really not feeling well. And then I finally get done, and I'm going to go shower and change and stuff. And I go to use the bathroom and shower and everything. And I noticed, like, oh, man. I was like, well, I definitely sharted, but it was more than the normal. And like, to the point where I'm in the locker room bathroom at the venue, and I called my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, hey, I actually have to throw my pants away, like this. And I'm telling her the story. I'm like, yeah, we did a suplex on the floor. It's so hot in that building. I just thought it was like gross amounts of sweat. I was like, but no. I was like I kind of had an accident. So that was embarrassing. Oh, but yeah. I'm pretty sure if any wrestler was honest, almost all of them had it happen at least once.
I can imagine. A lot of exertion.
Yeah. You're just your body is at its limit, is what that is.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, man. That's it. We're pretty much at the end. So I can't thank you enough for your time, man. So I don't know if you using social media much at the minute, but just for our listeners, is there anywhere they can sort of keep up with you, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever?
Yeah. So I have a Twitter and an Instagram, but they're completely blank. They're both NXT Ciampa. Okay. I've used them in the past. And I kind of go in spurts. Right now, I'm off it. Okay. I don't know, man. I just feel like the negativity sometimes. Yeah, man. So I'm taking a little me break right now to just, and it kind of goes with all the stuff we were talking about. Like, once you have a kid and your energy just is so in other places. Like, the last thing I need to be doing is playing on a phone while I'm trying to give my attention elsewhere. So I think that was actually my deciding factor. I just didn't want to waste time, that I could be spending with her. So, but yeah, they are there. It's at NXT Ciampa on Instagram and Twitter. I will at times, I'm sure, post something. Maybe not right now, but eventually I'll get back to it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, when it's
sure, maybe.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you don't, does it?
Possibly. Who knows?
Yeah. Right, man. I massively appreciate your time, and hopefully this will, it'll go down really well, because it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. Good chat, man.
Thanks a bunch, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Take it easy, man. I'll hopefully speak to you again very soon. Maybe even we'll meet one day if I make it over to Florida.
I would love to get back out to the UK.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Maybe that can be the next 3-month plan. I would love that.
There we go. Right, take it easy, brother. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.